Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Ionavation Podcast. My name is Jordan.
I'm Aidan.
And today we have Rose Salem-Tilford, owner of 360 Business. Rose, how are you doing today after your e-talk?
Oh, a little worn out, but I'm good. It was a very good talk. I really enjoyed talking to everybody. It's so interesting to hear all the different things that you guys are doing. And I always know that you guys know more than we do as the adults, especially, the Generation X. So I enjoyed it. Really did.
Yeah. So the first question I had is, I remember during your e-talk, you talked about how you focus on the positives rather than a more pessimistic lens when you're coaching clients. So I'm curious about, what is the most common mistake that you see clients or companies make, and how do you address it?
It goes back to why companies fail, why small businesses fail, right? The number one reason is people just don't know their market demand, and they don't really have an opportunity. Everybody has an idea, but it's really about the opportunity of that idea, which is really attached to your market demand. Like, who are you selling to? How are you making your first dollar? So the mistakes I see people starting out with is they have an idea, but the opportunity is not there because they don't have anybody to sell to, nor do they really know who they're selling to. And then that's the number one reason most people fail. And the second reason is finance.
Yeah.
Third is team. Right? So you need all those things to succeed. The number one is still understanding your market.
So, given those points that you just mentioned, can you give an example of a Fortune 500 company that you've helped transform, and what was that process like, and what were the key drivers for their success?
Okay, so coaching now, I don't work with Fortune 500. I used to work with Fortune 500 in computer, and so I could tell you about that as well. Small companies, because that's my bread and butter. From beginning to end, I think the most fun I had was about last year. A client came to me and he wanted to start a patty business, and I'm Jamaican. And I was like, oh, okay, we're in Jamaica.
Yeah.
I'm Puerto Rican.
I forgot. I think it was like St. Catherine's. Something. I forgot.
Saints,
St. Kitts?
No, it's like Saint. There's so many saints.
I forgot.
I don't know. I left when I was like 5, so, but I'm still, and I don't sound it, but I am, And so when he was like Patty, I was like, ooh, this is good. And he really worked his butt off. His whole thing is like the pastries, everything. It's called Tasha's Patty. Are you familiar with Tasha's Patty?
No.
Actually, last year came out on Fox.
Oh wow!
Which said it was the best patty in the borough.
That's amazing.
I was like, whoa! I helped him do that. I think that's the biggest growth I've seen, because I took somebody that basically didn't know if he could do it, and didn't understand how he could do it, and made it real in his head, and that made him be able to achieve what he can do. He always had it in him, but I had to make it real for him,
So it was giving him like the actual logistics of how he could get there.
Yeah, and the way I generally do it with entrepreneurs, I go backwards with them. So I basically say, okay, where do you want to get number-wise? What is the number that you're trying to achieve this year? And then we try to figure out if it's feasible, right? Then we do the numbers. With him, it was like, how many patties do you want to sell? And once we figured that out, it's then, okay, how are you going to do this? We got the recipe down, but how are you going to do this? And he got into, I forgot what it's called, these fairs, that smorgasbord in Brooklyn. And he did every weekend, but he made ridiculous, I won't go into his revenue, but he did make ridiculous money with it, and he'll be doing it again. And I love the fact that I was able to help him see that he could do it. That was everything.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so you talked about in your podcast how you take more of a selfless approach as opposed to prioritizing your own growth as an entrepreneur. And I'm curious about, what was the aha moment that made you realize, like, yeah, this is what I want to do? Like, it could be a specific client you remember that really made it big, or a moment, a milestone.
For me, it was over time. I always I loved working with people. But as I started to coach more and develop the methodology that's best for a 360 business coach, I realized that it was being positive and the energy that I give off, that I'm really genuinely interested in people, that I'm like, wait, this is really for me to do. Like everything I've done led me up to this, from staffing business to working with entertainment, to retail. It always had to do with people. It had to do with my belief, and then thinking that I'm more on the positive end. I think I am more like optimistic than I am on the negative. And because of that, I tend to attract people that are more like me. And so I can't say there was like this moment where I was just like, oh, it happened, gravitated over time. It really did. And it was really from all my experience and, the companies, even though there were some companies like Salem that was really successful or the Blue Equity stuff, it was, I don't like doing that. I don't like doing this, but I love doing that. And then how did I do a store? But all those had same components of helping people. Even though nonprofit definitely had components of helping people. And then when I learned about strength, your character strength, and like if you know your character strength and really build on that, build your company, then I was like, oh my God, that's why that's what I love. Okay. I love helping. Okay.
The light bulb.
Yeah.
Light bulb.
Yeah.
All right. That was very insightful, Rose. I appreciate you for coming here and talking with us.
Thank you.
This has been this episode of the Ionavation Podcast. I have been your host, Aidan Rodriguez.
And I'm Jordan Providence.
And I'm the guest, Rose.